it's well known amongst you that I've been very concerned about the directions of the government and therefore the party, very concerned indeed about our electoral prospects. But the caucus has made its decision today. It's made a decision to stay on path, and I can inform you that over the course of the next 6 weeks, I'll consider whether it's in the best interest of the party for me to continue on as the Chief Whip. There is no provision in the rules to elect a Chief Whip if I were to resign today, so not much point in that. So I'll take the next 6 weeks to consider my position. I'll of course consult with my colleagues, and the Prime Minister might even have a view.
Have you been advised?
So I'll put that decision on notice now.
Have you spoken to the Prime Minister about your position, and has she expressed that she'd prefer you not to be in that role?
No, I've had no conversation with the Prime Minister. The Whip's position is one determined by the caucus, and again there'll be no opportunity to elect a new Chief Whip between now and the May budget. That gives us all a chance to sort of cool down a bit and consider our positions. But I've come to the...
Simon Crean has gone to the backbench today. Should other Rudd supporters, such as Richard Miles, do the same thing?
I'm not going to speak for any of my colleagues. I think it's a time for healing. It's just so critical with an election not all that far away. And I can make one pledge to you and to the Prime Minister and to members of the government that you'll be hearing very, very little from Joel Fitzgibbon between now and the federal election.
How do we get to this point today? Again, we were in this situation a year ago. Now, again, Kevin Rudd supporters have been out there canvassing for the second time. He doesn't have the numbers. So what's Kevin Rudd's position now?
Well, I want to be careful. I've just made the point that I think it's time Fitzgibbon kept some of his views to himself. The caucus has made a decision, so I think I don't believe I can answer that question without creating problems for the government. So on that basis, I don't.
Were you disappointed that Kevin Rudd didn't stand today? And more than that, rather than being silent, is it time for Joel Fitzgibbon and others to stand up publicly and say we should unite behind the leader?
Yeah, well, I thought I just.
Into the disunity?
I thought I just said that, Fran. That's right.
And were you disappointed, Kevin Rudd?
Look, Kevin Rudd always maintained he wouldn't challenge. There were those, including me, who believed that if the caucus overwhelmingly expressed the view that for the good of the party and for the government he should stand, that would persuade him to do so. We weren't able to do so. He was good on his pledge right till the end.
Joel, it sounds like this is actually not over. We haven't had a vote today to determine the numbers, and you're saying that it could have been drafted for the good of the party. What if the situation changes in 6 weeks?
Well, I'm doing what I'm doing right now in the hope of making sure that it is over. And what I've just said to you is that if my resignation as Chief Whip helps for it to be over, I'll be happy to tender that resignation. Now, well, there's no provision in the rules to elect a Chief Whip in the absence of a caucus meeting. The Parliament won't be sitting, so there's not much. There are no problems surely flow from me staying in the position until the budget, and there are things for the Chief Whip to do when the Parliament's not sitting. So I'll continue to carry out those duties, reflect, consult and make my decision when we return. And if I resign from the position, the caucus will immediately be able to elect a new Chief Whip.
Joel, is it fair to say this is Mr Rudd's last chance?
What did Simon Crean say to the meeting? He gave a speech after the non-ballot.
Oh, look, what happens in the party room stays in the party room. If Simon Crean wants to share with you what he had to say, he's able to do so.
Kevin Rudd blown his final chance to return to the Prime Ministership? Julia Gillard has been in twice in ballots and he didn't front up on the third opportunity he had.
Well, Kevin Rudd didn't do anything. He was urged by members of the caucus, including me, to have a crack.
Why didn't he, Joel? Do you think he doesn't want it?
Well, because he promised he wouldn't challenge, and I think he's indicated that he'd only. Well, I think he indicated that he'd only return to the position if the overwhelming majority of the caucus had urged him to do so, and without challenge, which of course axiomatically means that the Prime Minister would have had to take a decision to stand down. Now that didn't happen, and he made good on his word.
Will you still go to the Whips conference in Ecuador
give that
tomorrow?
overwhelming support.
I'm sorry,
though.
Fran?
It didn't happen though, didn't it? It's a reflection that you and other supporters couldn't get that overwhelming reflection written down on a bit of paper to show them. You couldn't get the numbers.
Well, we tested whether there was a large number of, there was a clear majority in the caucus for a change and a different direction, and the caucus has spoken. Someone's trying very hard.
Will you still go to the Whips conference in Ecuador tomorrow?
No, I won't be going to Ecuador
Can the government
tomorrow.
win, Joel, with Prime Minister?
I'm going home and have a sleep.
Can the government win with Julia as Prime Minister?
I'm sorry, just go here.
Can the government win with Julia remaining as Prime Minister?
Well, I think the government can win with Julia Gillard as Prime Minister. We've got a very weak opposition leader in my view and a very weak opposition team. She does have some very, very good policies and a positive agenda, so I think that is possible.
Will you still run at the next election?
And can I say, and I'll be doing everything I can to ensure that she does win the next election.
Will you still run at the next election?
Julia Gillard in the last leadership ballot. This time around, you were canvassing for Kevin Rudd. What changed for you?
I told the Prime Minister not long after the last ballot that I was concerned about the government standing in the electorate. I was concerned about some of our policy direction, and I indicated to her I thought that things needed to change, and of course she would need to improve her public standing. She hasn't been able to do so, that's the truth of it. And I don't say that, please, to be mischievous. Obviously it's what drove my role in urging Kevin Rudd to stand again. Look, I'm driven only by the interests of the party. I wanted to give the party and the government the best chance of winning the next election. I came to the view that Kevin Rudd was that best chance. The caucus has expressed a different view, and I'll now get in behind the caucus and support that.
Will you still stand at the next election?
I'll be absolutely standing at the next election.
Need to recalibrate how it's selling its policy agenda. You've been critical about.
Well, I think I've answered that question.
So Labor remains a party though that, as you've judged, the public won't support.
No, I didn't say that. I said I indicated that the Prime Minister does have a very progressive agenda. There are some challenges. Many of them flow from. The primary vote is still in the low 30s. Let's call a spade, as I usually do, Fran. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of that. And again, that's why I took the decision that the party may be, or may have a better chance under a different leader. That is, of course, Kevin Rudd. But as I said, the caucus has come to a different conclusion. I now have to get behind that decision and do everything I can to ensure Labor wins the next election. I think that'll do it. But this is going to be the last one, okay?
I expect that there may be a minor reshuffle of the front bench and parliamentary secretaries.
Look, these matters are entirely a matter for the Prime Minister.
What message do you have for the
victims I said
of
that was
forced
the last.
apology?
Well, I made a speech, a forced adoption apology. Well, I made a speech about that in the House today. I was very lucky to have that opportunity. Actually, it came around by accident while we were trying to buy some time to sort out some other matters in the House.
Are you sorry that this overshadowed their day?
I went to the event in the Great Hall today. I thought the Prime Minister made a very powerful speech. I thought the presentation was very powerful, very moving. Unfortunately, I didn't hear Tony Abbott's speech. I had to leave, whip's duties. But I've no doubt his speech was just as appropriate and just as powerful. Thank you.